long. All right,
Sure.
so we're here today with, or tonight, with Matt Denman of Claflin School of Advanced Studies in Oklahoma. He's a very interesting guy with a couple of full-time jobs that set him apart from all the people we've been working with so far and give him a lot more breadth in terms of what he has to offer for guitar. And so I'm going to let him speak as he wants to about his past, and we're going to start with that. So just like with the other videos, Matt, tell us a little bit about your music. I mean, obviously, if you're a classical guitar teacher at a university, you are a classical guitar major. Where'd you go to school? And just give us a little bit about your musical and guitar past.
Sure. Well, my father started teaching me guitar,
Oh,
and he loved Johnny Cash and the
mhm.
Beach Boys and lots of wonderful music, and I really gained a lot from that experience and his love of music. And I was very fortunate to be able to go and to study at a university. But before I did that, I was in a rock band and traveled around and toured and
Wow, not just a garage band, but a successful one.
it was just out of the garage, but it's a successful but in debt, you know.
Any YouTube videos of you guys?
No, I mean this was
Oh, dang it.
I mean this was before the internet really got going. Thank
Yeah.
goodness. I don't think I'd want that stuff out there right now. But it was a great experience for me. But I remember at one point I was sitting with a bunch of bands under in a tent at a music festival, and we were all eating sloppy joes. And I thought,
I kind of think I know where this is going.
yeah, I thought I need to go to college. And so I did, and I I eventually landed at Oklahoma City University,
Ah,
which is where I teach now. Um, and I got a degree in performance and music composition.
oh, nice.
And it was at a time where I didn't know guitar was taught in public schools.
Hmm.
I didn't even know that was an option. And one day my teacher came and said, "Hey, would you like to go teach at the
You
school?"
didn't have an education
Um,
degree?
I did not have an education degree, no.
Interesting. Okay,
No.
sorry.
And
Didn't
in
mean to
fact,
interrupt, but that's
no, no,
interesting.
right. And at this point, I didn't even have a degree.
Hmm.
And they said, "Hey, would you like to go teach at this class in School of Advanced Studies?"
Ah,
They're looking for an adjunct instructor.
I see.
And I just thought that was the coolest idea in the world. So I
Mhm.
show up, and it was a small program at the time, but I just fell in love with it immediately. I remember coming home to my wife and
Mhm.
being like, "I can't believe this is happening. I can't
This is
believe."
you can't believe you're getting paid to do this. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the
Yeah.
kids were so much fun,
Hmm.
uh, and yeah, it was great. I felt like, well, maybe because I think like many people in a performance degree, like the
Hmm.
idea of how in the world are you going to make money
Yeah. Yeah.
hadn't really entered my mind yet, and it anyway, it took over, and I finished my degree while I was teaching.
Hmm.
um, and I got my first adjunct job at a local university,
Hmm.
and a few years later I became full time,
That's so cool.
and went through the alternative certification process.
What's that mean?
So
Tests or something? Or
yes, so now, especially in Oklahoma, we have a massive teacher shortage, and I think the United States,
everywhere? Yeah.
right? So and I also want to go on record saying that I'm very pro the traditional
Hmm.
uh, method of going through and getting a music education degree.
Hmm.
There are really great courses that you learn. There's a
Hmm.
great process of going through and getting, going and, a practicum of going and teaching
Hmm.
in a real school
Hmm.
before you get your degree. I think that's a wonderful process. But I didn't even know that was an option before I had my job.
Hmm.
So I didn't go that direction. But yes, you have to have a school that's interested in hiring you,
Uh,
and then you have to take the same exams
hmm.
that someone who goes through the ordinary process of becoming a teacher does.
Well, how do you prep for the exams? Just reading books?
Yes, the books, and there are study guides.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and I'm sure it's a little different in every state.
Hmm.
Um, but I went through that process. It wasn't too bad.
Hmm.
Um, and then was a certified teacher, which was
Hmm.
which was really wonderful. And that, for us when we were, first married, that first real paycheck was really awesome.
That's very good. That's very good. Yes, you're not competing with a 21-year-old fresh out of college.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so talk to me about. I mean, I think most of the people who will be watching these videos will be the grades 5 through 12. So
Sure.
I know you can talk about more than that, but talk to me about the 5 through 12 class in School of Advanced Studies. What grade levels, what's your program like, how many kids in the classes, what do you do? Yeah, so basically just open up and talk about your experiences there.
Sure. So now we have two full-time teachers,
Huh.
two full-time.
Wait, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt, but you have no idea how many times I've talked to you guys,
Mhm.
and you started with one guy part-time, and now there's 5 teachers there or something like
Right.
that. That's kind of amazing. What a great trend, huh?
Well, it's really wonderful. And the other teacher right now was one of my first students
Students.
at Class and School of Advanced
Hmm.
Studies, who went on to Oberlin Conservatory and ended up finishing with me. Really an unbelievably talented person, and
Hmm.
he's teaching the middle school program now.
Hmm.
When I started, I taught. That's where I taught. The younger students. And we didn't have fifth grade yet. So I taught mostly middle school, the
Hmm.
beginner and intermediate, but the classes could be intermingled. So you could have a sixth grader and a senior in the same class
Okay.
when we
Okay.
started. Now the school has divided
Okay.
to where we have a fifth through eighth grade and a ninth through 12th grade.
Okay.
So in two different buildings. But that's a fairly recent development. Um, so Classen is an amazing place where you can audition to be a guitar major, a dance major, a visual art major, orchestra, band, choir, those types of things.
Hmm.
That can be your focus, or you can focus on the International Baccalaureate program, which is a high-powered
Hmm.
academic program. So
Hmm.
what I think is so interesting about Klassen is that you have these two really powerful forces in the same room together. All of these people are high powered, either
Hmm.
creative thinkers, or they're going to be neurosurgeons, or they're going to be
Hmm.
concert performers. And you put them in the same room together and something really magical happens,
Hmm.
how they feed off each other. And
Hmm.
oftentimes I think they realize in some ways they're the same person,
Hmm.
uh, sometimes.
Hmm.
So you get to, I'm in a very privileged position in that I work with unbelievably talented, and high achieving students,
Hmm.
almost across the board.
Hmm.
And I'm very, very thankful for that. And I don't take that for granted.
Hmm.
Uh, but my experience teaching in the middle school was wonderful, and it was kind of where I, kind of found my footing. I mean, in the beginning, I'm pretty sure I was like everyone else. I wasn't very good. I
Hmm.
was very excited about what I was doing, but I think we often project our our hopes and dreams, our personal hopes and dreams on our students when we first start teaching,
Hmm.
and we push a little too hard, and we
Hmm.
hope for things for them that are personal, that are not necessarily best for them.
Hmm.
It's like, them becoming concert guitarist
Hmm.
you know, isn't, that we have to really sit and think about that and do some self-reflection. And I
Hmm.
was pretty much in senior recital mode. I was in, I'm a
I
serious,
see. Right. Yeah.
and there was also, as I'm sure you experienced too, there was a lot of pushback from the band world. Um, and there was a lot of, is this legitimate?
Hmm. Yep.
What you're trying to do. And the person who I took their place had burned a lot of bridges on
Hmm.
the way out. And I think it made for some very difficult beginnings. Kind of you kind of start out on an island,
Hmm.
and everyone is very suspicious of you
Hmm.
as this guitar program. Um, so I tried to work very hard to develop a relationship
Hmm.
with the Oklahoma City Public School fine arts director.
Hmm.
Um, because at that time we had one of the largest programs in Oklahoma City,
Hmm.
but we were only getting $500 a year,
Hmm. Wait,
which
that's your guitar program, not the whole music program, but just your guitar program.
just the guitar program,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Right. And we that I know that many people are in not great situations
Hmm.
with finances, but that wasn't enough for anything. That wasn't enough for sheet music.
Hmm.
That was enough. We couldn't. We also didn't. We also only owned one guitar.
Oh, so the kids brought in their own instruments. Okay.
Yeah, so they brought in their own instruments in the
Yeah.
beginning,
Yeah.
and you know how that goes. I mean, you can't demand in a public school, and you shouldn't demand, uh,
Right.
you know, um, that they go out and spend their hard-earned money and savings on a really nice guitar. So often they would buy their instruments from eBay, and they'd buy their instruments from wherever they could find them, in a very natural way. But also, they would explode in the classroom. The necks would break, and the
Yeah, I hear you. No.
I'm sure, yeah,
No,
and
I'm just feeling for you. That's all. I can imagine. So you're still talking the first few years when you were doing mostly the fifth, sixth, and seventh graders.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And probably a name that has come up a lot, and a person who I respect immensely, is Dr. Matthew Hensley,
Hmm.
from Austin,
Right.
and he is someone who I had met
Hmm.
a couple years before
Hmm.
I became full time at this school. And one thing I noticed about Matt was his charisma and his ability to speak plainly and with a clarity that I admired
Hmm.
so much, because very few people can get to the point and with eloquence.
Hmm.
And if there's a word for Matthew Hensley, it's eloquence. And I created our first guitar festival.
Hmm.
So I hired Matt to come play with, Anna Vidovic came, and Andrew York came as well. But
Oh,
the most
wow.
but the most important person who came, I mean, in
Yeah.
my book at that
Yeah.
moment, for what we needed,
Yeah.
was Matt Hensley, because I took Dr. Hensley and our wonderful fine arts director,
Hmm.
Dr. Susan Gabbard, out to dinner.
Hmm.
And I just sat there and shut up and
Hmm.
let them talk to each other. And my budget went from $500 to $11,000.
You know that every guitar teacher who sees this is going to be Mad Hensley, Austin.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't be making a bad decision,
To do that. Yeah.
to do that. And I mean, it didn't stay that way. That was, I mean, for a few years we had that, and then it went back down to normal levels. And now I think everyone in Oklahoma City Public Schools gets like $2,000.
Yeah. So you bought guitars for the place and all that. You should get sort
Sure.
of set it up. Yeah.
Over a few years, we were able to make investments in the program that we really, really needed, um, and it it changed it changed everything.
Hmm.
We were able to have books, and we were able to have guitars,
Hmm.
and there could be some quality control,
Hmm.
um, and that was really wonderful.
Hmm.
And then over time, we got a lot better at what
Hmm.
what we were doing, and
Hmm.
because we had resources, and
Hmm.
we had support, great students, great families, and at one point we got asked to perform
Hmm.
for the Oklahoma City Public Schools, like how schools do. They have like their beginning
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the year events where all
Yeah.
the people come, and so we had worked up Bantu by Andrew York
Hmm.
the year previously, and we were really excited about it. And the
Hmm.
kids were doing pretty good with it. And they had started a new reading initiative in Oklahoma City Public Schools. And they asked us to play while a slideshow was happening. but they didn't know how long the slideshow was going to
Sorry,
go.
just keep it rolling.
Exactly. Well,
Damn.
Bob, yeah, Bob is not a long piece. It's like 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes or something like that. And so we developed a signal, where it
That's
was
funny. Yeah,
go
yeah,
back to
yeah,
the section, and we hit it
A
once.
section.
That's exactly right.
Mhm.
So we get to a point and it's still going. So we go back, we go to it, and then we're going through it the third time. And and then I'm like, well, we can't do this a fourth time. We've got
Mhm.
to end this. And so I give the signal to move forward, and which kind of ends on the big percussive moment.
I don't know the piece, but go ahead.
It's a wonderful, wonderful piece, and at the end, like, there's a lot of percussion going on. It's
Hmm.
really exciting, and the kids were super into it.
Hmm.
They had professional sound, so it sounded great in the
Hmm.
stadium. There's
Hmm.
6,000 employees,
Oh, wow.
in the in the
Yeah.
center that we were in.
Guitar Super Bowl.
Yeah, for us, and
Yeah.
and and at the end, they they hit the last beat, and I kid you not, the slideshow went black. It was amazing, and the crowd stood up and they roared, and they were so generous.
Hmm.
And then the superintendent of Oklahoma City Public Schools stands up, walks over to me, shakes my hand, and he says, "How can we put a guitar program in every public school in Oklahoma City?"
Nice.
And I was so dumb. I still am, but I was not expecting that question in a million years. My answer to him was, "I don't know."
Hmm.
I mean, and it was a very honest answer.
Yeah.
But I was still very much
It
a
was a
kid.
musician's answer.
Yeah, exactly,
Honest and naive. Yep, that's us.
exactly. But still, despite my own failings, the guitar programs grew in Oklahoma City.
Hmm.
Now we have 6 or 7
Hmm.
full-time guitar teachers, and there's
Six or
a
seven. Amazing.
there's a commitment to starting increasing our middle school
Hmm.
involvement. And I think the future is really bright for the Oklahoma City public school system.
Really cool. Really cool story. Okay, so what kinds of uh, all right. So talk about the music and the repertoire, I no first just a few little sort of like what you call this, just standing points. How many kids per class? How many students in total? Just give me an idea, because I've had wow, huge numbers, and more normal numbers. So what are your numbers like in a class?
Sure. Well, for the middle school, they are packed out. It's like they've cut them off at 25 per class,
Okay.
and every class is pretty much 25
Hmm.
because Tyler Grice, who's the middle school teacher, is fantastic at what he
Hmm.
does,
Hmm.
and generates a lot of excitement. When they come up to me in the high school now, it's like uh, we're getting into the upper levels of the guitar studies, some
Hmm.
more complex college prep things. Um, so I have a class of 25,
Hmm.
but most of my classes are in the 17 range.
Hmm. Okay.
And that's I really like it
Hmm.
there.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
of
a
course.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Much
really
much better one-on-one. Yeah.
yes.
That's cool. Okay, so what styles of music do you introduce, and go all the way from the middle school all up to high school? What styles, and yeah, we'll start with that. Yeah, start with that, and then we'll get into the more detail in a minute.
Sure. So I'm always I'm always thinking about what's the show. I mean, what is the I'm thinking that what we're trying to create is at the end is some sort of piece of advocacy for music education and
Interesting.
our program. And
Okay.
I start there. So I'm like, what is entertaining?
Hmm.
And not what is entertaining to me, but what is entertaining to the public, what is entertaining
Hmm.
well, I mean, to parents and to administration and all of
Yeah,
us.
to taxpayers.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Um, there are some pieces of classical repertoire that I passionately love. I love the anything by any Spanish, the Defia, Introduction and Fandango by Boccherini.
Hmm.
But those are more advanced pieces, that
Yeah.
would be happening. But but that an honor ensemble or my upper ensembles would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
In the lower levels, one of the things that started to incorporate, because when I started teaching a class in SAS, it was not an incredibly diverse environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made me rethink things.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I first started teaching, I pushed, my own personal classical
Mm-hmm.
agenda
Yeah.
based on my own dreams and education.
Mm-hmm.
But in Charlie Christian, the
Yeah, the
father,
jazz player. Yeah.
yeah, the father of modern jazz,
Mm-hmm.
graduated from Oklahoma City Public Schools.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh.
And there's lots of people like that
Mm-hmm.
who who graduated and went to our public schools, and now I look at where my students are, the diversity that we have, and I think that representation is important.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, on, I used to have posters of Targa in my room,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not anti having Targa because I love Targa, but it's like I have BB King
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
and I have pictures of Charlie Christian all over my room.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like on my phone, there's Charlie
It's
Christian right
nice.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I think about those things a lot. We do The Thrill Is Gone by BB King.
Mm-hmm.
We study blues.
Okay,
And
can you be a little more specific? So when you study blues, I need to ask this because I'm interested, and everybody else will. Do you play solo classical guitar and do like blues written out notes? Do you play a pick? Do you play blues power chords? Do you substitute jazz? I mean, what? Just a little more about what is the output of this blues? Because I'm with you, and this is the first time anyone said anything like this. I'm really interested in this. You're taking it in a great direction.
wonderful. Well, what I try to do is I think about, well, what is the easiest thing for them to play when they're
Hmm.
beginners?
Hmm.
And sometimes it can be more advanced harmonically, maybe, but it's still easier for their fingers to do, and it's easier for them to understand. And if the audience can kind of stay with me for a second, I mean, if you go to fret 7, string 1, 2, and 3,
Hmm.
bar that, you've got your B minor
Hmm.
7.
Yeah.
You put your second finger down on
Hmm.
string 2, fret 8, and you've got G major, but
Yeah.
you've also got E minor 7.
Hmm.
And so you've got three chords right there, and then you
Hmm.
move that G major back a half step. You have F sharp dominant. You've got all the chords right
Hmm.
there. You've only
Hmm.
made two shapes.
Hmm.
And so we start with that, and there's some really great.
Where did you get the material? That's fascinating. Did you make that up yourself?
Sure, yeah, I,
Wow,
I made it up myself, but
very cool.
so the but I
Didn't mean to derail you, but I've not heard anything like that. It's very cool, man.
Yeah, well, and it's simple. They can do it in a couple of days,
Hmm.
a couple of days, and a beginner class. And again, it's easier for them to play up in those higher positions.
Hmm.
It's easier for them to
Right, because
push.
it's easy to push down. It's string fets are close together. All that, very nice. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, we mostly use classical guitars because that's what we have. But I was incredibly lucky. I'm sure a lot of us had CARES Act money. That was, COVID money. That
Okay,
that
that's right. That's right. Okay.
was available, and we were encouraged to write
Hmm.
some for some just to
Hmm.
dream.
Yeah.
And I wrote out what I would love to have. Never, and my experience with public school is that you write out what you dream for, and they give you something, that
Hmm.
you've done. They
Yeah.
don't give you the whole enchilada, right? Um, and I did that, and then my Tyler Grice at the middle school just copied what I did, and I didn't
Hmm.
know he did that. Uh, and we got everything we asked for. So we got $50,000 worth of instruments.
That's terrific.
And I feel bad saying that because I know the difficult situations that so many teachers are in. But I just again, for most of my life and existence, it hasn't been this way. But so we're very, very fortunate. But the Fender Squire, and I always get it wrong, but
Mhm.
they have come out with a really great vintage reissue line of Squire, and I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember what it's called, but it's like the 1950s, 1960s
Mm-hmm.
Telecasters, the
Mm-hmm.
Mustang,
Mm-hmm.
the Stratocasters, the
Mm-hmm.
some things I'd never seen before, but Jaguar, those types of things,
Mm-hmm.
the Jazzmaster,
Mm-hmm.
and I just asked for like two of everything pretty much. And so, I have something like 14 guitars, and I
Mm-hmm.
still have some on the way that haven't even arrived yet. Like Gibson factory, I think is still in the, still backlogged with orders.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a lot of electric guitars, and I
Mm-hmm.
bought some effects processors, and I have some sound systems,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not perfected this part of it yet. I know there are people who do this better than I do, but I set up those things in the back, and like it seems like right now, like every other class period, because I don't have enough for my 25 kids in a
Mm-hmm.
class
Mm-hmm.
to do it. So it's a little bit of a trick to figure out. I also got basses and I got electric drum sets, those types of things. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So we do the whole thing, and then, but and, and there are great jam tracks on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. There are,
Now,
yeah.
you type in "The Thrill Is Gone" by
Yeah.
BB King jam track,
Key of
and
E minor. They'll give you everything, I know.
exactly, and
Yeah.
they'll show the chords, and then they'll show the chords move,
Mm-hmm.
with and
Yeah.
so the students can visually see it. And I have a big screen TV, in
Mm-hmm.
my room, and so we put that on, and they play with it, and they're really creating, I mean, an authentic comping
Mm-hmm.
of "The Thrill Is Gone," because it's it's not that big of a deal. It's
No,
two,
no.
two and four, and honestly, if they're playing it in that position that we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
that's the real range of
Mm-hmm.
the guitar usually in those professional recordings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the bar chords and the first position
Right.
chords
Yeah, yeah.
that we usually teach that are so much harder for them to play.
F
Um,
minor, bar
right,
first fret.
gosh, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so again, it's like they play it. It's like what can they play in their lights, and the lights in their eyes,
Mm-hmm.
go off, and what can you surprise them with?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm also, the ascent. I'm never happy with any book I buy. I'm sure none of us are,
Mm-hmm.
as far as like a method book, but Essential Elements for Guitar, we've used that.
Oh, so who's the author?
Bob Morris.
Okay, Bob Morris. Okay.
Yeah, and Bob actually lives in Oklahoma. He lives in,
Mm-hmm.
I think he was one of the first people, even before Bill Swick in Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
at the time. But what there are certain things I love about that book. The Eleanor Rigby, is
Mm-hmm.
in how Leonard has access to such an incredible catalog, of
Mm-hmm.
music. Many
Mm-hmm.
publishers don't have that, so it negatively affects, the music they can put out.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that they show Eleanor Rigby, the E minor to C major, I mean, which is the truth. I mean, what it really is. I mean, you have open string one, two, and three, and then
Mm-hmm.
you put your second finger down on string two, fret one.
Mm-hmm.
I do that the first day of school,
Mm-hmm.
and the kids can do it as long as you can get the guitars in tune. I mean, that's the thing that they have trouble with. That it just takes time to get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, anyway, uh, but the original, I mean, the question about what
Repertoire literature. Yeah.
yeah, I get anything I can get my hands on that is good, but I always try to stay away from things that I feel are cheap,
Mm-hmm.
and things that are poor representations, like of like Fur Elise or something like that. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and if you're a teacher and you do that, there's nothing wrong with that. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that. I'm trying to create an authentic experience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I think our kids are smart, and I think they know,
Mm-hmm.
if the music they're playing is good. And something that Bill has done, Bill Swick, is, he created these marvelous Trans-Siberian Orchestra arrangements.
Oh, did he?
Yes,
Okay.
they are out of this world. You can get them on his website. You're
Okay.
welcome. but we are doing that right now.
Mhm,
We have a concert October 4th,
mhm,
and the question I think when a lot of us move into electric repertoire is how is it not just power chords, and how
mhm,
is it not just how can we do this with 12 guitars,
mhm,
with a large ensemble? But
mhm,
the arrangements are stellar. There's 8 guitar parts usually, like
mhm,
four, two electric guitars, four
mhm,
standard classical guitars if you want. The drum part is written out, and that's a challenge for me. I'm not a drummer,
mhm,
never read drum music before, and I'm just like, I'm not afraid to put something in front of a kid and be like, let's figure this out together,
mhm. Yeah.
because um, and oftentimes they surprise
Mhm,
me because they'll we were doing a piece called "The Last Illusion" that is one of Bill's arrangements, and I
mhm,
think it's going to knock people's socks off.
mhm,
It's kind of the flight of the bumblebee,
mhm,
with electric guitars, and I'm super excited about it.
mhm,
Is it what I want my whole program to be? It's not, but I love the experience that it gives the kids. I love the excitement that it brings to them. Um, I know I can feel the excitement that it's going to bring to the parents, but also there's just a practicality to it in that my last year we had our first outdoor arts festival,
mhm. Right. And you were electrified guitar. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Sound
and
system, the whole deal. Yeah.
but we didn't have that stuff at that time.
Right.
So I had my 90 classical guitars, that
Yeah.
were playing, come and sit out front and play. And they had
Yeah.
just played in a confined room, and I thought they sounded amazing. They sounded
Mhm.
great. They walk out, and there's no sound guy on the
Right.
planet
Yeah.
that is ready to mic or figure out how to
Yeah.
mic 90 guitars
Mhm,
outside,
mhm.
and nobody heard him. Nobody
Right.
heard like 10 feet in front of them,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, and they couldn't, and they
But
couldn't.
not this year.
Right.
You got your Fenders going through Marshall Stack. They'll hear it.
I'm excited about it because I,
Mhm,
I want them I want them to be heard. I want them to have fun. I want them to be able to explore those things too. I also encourage songwriting,
mhm,
and they have these elements and these times to kind of sit and form little bands,
mhm,
and put something together. They'll come, they'll bring an idea, they'll talk to each other, about things, and we always have some representation of original music,
mhm,
in our recordings. And I think that I have a piano in my room, and I'm sure
mhm,
lots of guitar teachers do. I have a piano, I have a drum set, I have an electric bass, I have vocal microphones.
mhm,
We haven't utilized those as much as I want to, um, but I'm sure we will.
mhm,
I'm sure we'll figure out a way
mhm,
to,
mhm,
and that's kind of my forward vision is like I don't want to leave classical guitar, but I want, well, and I mean, here's here's the real deal. It's like I want these kids to have life skills. I want them to
mhm,
be able to carry the guitar with them for the rest of their life. I also like, since we're able to major in the guitar, I want them to be able to go out and play a Broadway show.
mhm.
And that's kind of one of the things that I think about, that if you go and play for a Broadway show, they may ask you to play banjo, they may ask you to play mandolin, they may ask you to play electric guitar, acoustic guitar.
Bass, read bass clef, the whole deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be anything. So
Mhm,
to me, it's like if you could play a professional show that's coming
mhm,
through town, then and all of the myriad of skills and the ability to play those different plucked instruments, then, or if you've set them on that journey, uh, then you've probably done right by them.
mhm,
At least in our situation.
mhm,
Um, because it's like some of my kids again will probably go to Eastman, or they'll go somewhere else like that.
mhm.
um, but others of them, it's the the Flaming Lips graduated from my school.
Mm,
At least one of the members of the
that's
Flaming Lips.
cool.
So it's like, and who knows,
Mhm.
Who knows what these kids are going to do? Um, but I I think for me, the pure classical approach is probably not what I'm going to do in the future. I
Mhm.
will continue to teach classical
Mhm.
as a foundation, and there's a lot of practicality there, as far as like having the guitars,
Mhm.
you know, um, the methods that already exist. But I'm really interested in what's going to happen to guitar education in the next 20 years.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, and I think there will be a lot there's an opportunity for a lot of fusion with the modern band movement that's happening.
Yeah. You mean,
Um,
oh, I heard my kid has a lot of these like lettuce. What is that? Something lettuce. Snarky lettuce. Is that the name of it? Snarky puppy.
Snarky Puppy, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So, a big band,
yeah,
very modern music, high power, high energy and guitars everywhere.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Those guys are from Denton, like 3 hours away. Yeah,
Mm, mm,
UNT.
mm,
But I again, I guess with repertoire, it's like I try to choose representation
mm,
now, um, because I feel like it's more honest,
mm,
for my situation with my
mm,
kids. Um, I think I want to show I have a diverse, whatever it is. I just want it to be excellent.
mm,
If we're playing classical, I want it to be as good as it can possibly be. If we're playing electric guitar, I want it to be as good as it can possibly be. And I'm hoping that, it's like I've got banjos and mandolins and
You get all that from the money, from the COVID money?
I've got a lot of my junk up there
Okay.
too.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I can't justify buying a banjo yet with school funds. But yeah, they're around,
Mhm.
for the kids to pick
Mhm.
up and to play and to try.
Mm, okay.
Um, and so yeah, I um, I guess that's my answer. It's like I'm always looking for
Mm,
the next big piece. A piece that I've gotten a ton of mileage out of is a piece called Landscape or Images by David Adele.
mhm,
It's in seven landscape. The second movement of that piece is really quite excellent, and it's a modern, um, almost industrial music for
mm,
classical guitar.
mm,
Really, really nice interlocking rhythmic idea.
mhm, mhm,
Very cinematic,
mhm,
and has a super powerful closer.
mm,
But I've played it so much. I mean, there's so many videos of ensembles that I've led doing that. Um, that I think I've decided to lay it to rest. Although it's really hard to do because it's hard to find something that
mhm.
fits its place.
Yeah.
I I think it's interesting to mention that I was also the director of education for the Guitar Foundation of America.
Oh, you
So
were with GFA. Yeah.
yep.
Huh.
So I did that. I was that for 5 or 6 years, and that
Mhm,
was really wonderful. I loved it so much
mhm.
because I was able to travel around and I was able to look at all of these guitar
Right.
programs.
Yeah. So you're able. Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing,
Mhm.
and I just kind of sat like a fly on the wall and observed how they
Yeah.
taught and
Soaked it
observed.
all in. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and there were some really, really wonderful things happening, and there were
Mhm,
also some many people in difficult situations, that I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't know the answer,
mhm,
of how to solve some of the
mm,
problems,
mhm. Got
you
it.
know, that some of these teachers had.
Mhm,
But I saw a lot of great teaching. I saw a lot of great teachers trying. I don't know that I ever saw a bad teacher,
mhm, hmm.
when I was traveling around the country. I just saw people in immensely different
I
circumstances.
think bad teachers don't last in the industry, right?
Yeah,
They wash out after a couple of years. Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right.
It's too hard. It pays too low, and if the kids know, so the job's too hard, even if you're a good teacher.
Right.
Yeah,
That is absolutely right.
yeah. All right, listen, I thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been very, very interesting, Matt. And I'm gonna hit the recorder, and I wish you all the best. And I'm sure Bill is gonna point out some videos that you've got of your kids. You got links of your kids' performances and stuff. You know?
Yes, there's several things out there. Yep.
Wonderful. Okay, man. All the best.
Thanks so much. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Take care. Bye.